Hello guys and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to talk about a new commander deck that I brewed with a cool new tribe. So first of all, when people think of tribal decks, they automatically think of elves, dragons, merfolks, maybe even sliverns. But what if I tell you now that there is a new tribe which is a blast to play? You probably already read it in the thumbnail, but this EDH deck is Golem Tribal. And yes, it's a thing, thanks to Commander Legends. So before we look at all these funny rock creatures, let's look at the commanders. We run the partner pairing of rebbec, Architect of Ascension, and Ich-Tekik, Salvage Splicer. So let's first look at rebbec. Rebbec is 4 mana for a 3/4 human artificer. Artifacts you control have protection from each converted mana cost among artifacts you control. Partner and Ich-Tekik, Salvage Splicer is a 5 mana for a 1/1 human artificer. Also, when Ich-Tekik, Salvage Splicer enters the battlefield, create a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token. Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Ich-Tekik and a +1/+1 counter on each golem you control. So partner. So the plan is to flood the board with golems and making them unblockable and hard to remove due to the protection from rebbec. And if they get removed, we will benefit from this due to Ich-Tekik. So the deck has this cool, strange, populate and sacrifice theme. We try to get as many golems as possible on the board and try to sack some to make our board even bigger. I call the deck the Rat of the Golems. So without further ado, let's jump into the creatures. We first start with the golems that stimulate and enforce the tribe. So Brass Herald helps us to dig for our golems and gives us a nice lord effect. Adaptive Automaton, it gives us also a lord effect. I want to state that these lord effects are very important because our golems will be unblockable most of the time. And then we have a Precursor Golem, which is an example of a golem not to put in the deck because this can board wipe you, but I found it very funny. So don't put it in the deck because otherwise it will chain on all your golems. Now look at the golems that give value. We have Arcbound Reclaimer in the deck. It's a golem that can help us recast our dead golems. And this has a consistent recursion because it keeps on getting counters from our commander. Then we have Darksteel Sentinel, which has flash and vigilance and is hard to remove due to the indestructible. It's a good beater. Golem Artisan that can buff up our golems and even make them have evasion. And Lodestone Golem to tax our opponents because this deck plays mostly artifacts. Mycosynth Golem makes our golems cheaper. Meteor Golems is good removal. And Howling Golem is good draw. And Geodude Golem is in the deck because you can put our 2 commanders straight on the board, which is pretty good. Now I wanted to give a quick shout out to a card that is often memed about, that he is sad and lonely. But not anymore, bitches. In this deck, Solemn Simulacrum, our beloved EDH card, feels at home, he's with his family, and he even costs less to cast. In a few moments you see why. So first of all, before I start this category, we can't deny the fact that golems aren't the best tribe. But they offer some cool interactions, and they can be buffed as fuck. How, you ask? Well, that's thanks to these support cards. So these cards are called Splicers, and they interact with golems. Blade Splicer puts a golem on the field and grants first strike to all our golems. Master Splicer also puts a body down and gives us a lord effect. Sense of Splicers does the same and grants our golems with vigilance. And Mold Splicers, which is more mana expensive, but we're in green so we're good, puts 2 bodies down and gives our golems trample. So these kind of cards offer the needed support to make this tribe viable and be a good threat on the board. Because imagine your commanders are on the field and you swing with a couple of 6/6 unblockable golems with vigilance. Good value if you ask me. The next non-golem creatures gives us value as a player and helps us to stay in the game, while still using our 3/3 rock dudes. So Teshar has a cool effect in this deck. Every time we cast a golem, we can recur a creature from our grave straight onto the field. So for example, cast a golem, get your Blade Splicer back and get another golem. Selesnia's Eulogist lets us proliferate our golem tokens that we produced from our commander or other cards. And Hamza, man, Hamza is an MVP in this deck. Hamza interacts with the counter strategy of this deck and makes itself cheaper and lets you play your golems for free eventually. Now let's look at the non-creature artifacts that I run in this deck. Astronaut's Altars is in the deck to cash our golems in for value and buff our board when Ich-Tekik is on the field. Because remember, his ability was that whenever an artifact goes to the grave, you get a +1/+1 counter on him and on every other golem. So pretty good. Golem Foundry makes golems by casting golems and other artifacts. Guardian Idol can be a rock and a golem. Trading Post lets us cash in the golems for recursion and our drawing, and again buffing our board. Throne of Get lets us sacrifice a golem to get a golem, so we break even on creatures, but we get a trigger from Ich-Tekik, our commander. Titan Forge is a slow golem generator, but its golems are beasts. And Crackland Ironworks is just the same good value as Ashnod's Altar, so that's why it's included, but it's a bit pricey though. It again helps us to sacrifice a creature and buffs up our board due to our command. Let's cover the spells in this deck that I wanted to show you. I mean, I don't gonna cover all the spells because the spells used in the colors that you know of, I mean, like the Cultivates and the Kodamas Reaches, I won't get into those, but the cool spells that I think you should know. So we run Dispatch in this deck. It's basically better than Path to Exile, and it's just a great removal. Frantic Salvage helps us recur our golems and gives us draw. And we're eventually a creature heavy deck, so that's why we run some protection like Inspiring Call. Remember, our golems will have +1/+1 counters on them thanks to our commander, and it gives us draw. Rootborn Defense is also good protection and gives us another body, so overall pretty great cards. Now look at some of the more important enchantments that I really wanted to cover for you guys. Elemental Bond gives us good draw. Every time a golem enters, we draw a card. Greater Good can cash in our golems for getting us a counter from our commander and lets us draw. Parallel Lives doubles our token generation. And Pallidus Forlays lets us cash in a golem token to get a land drop. So we ramp pretty hard by cashing and again getting a +1/+1 counter. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to a card that I think is underrated. Song of the World Souls lets us populate whenever we cast a spell. I know it's a greedy card, but in this brew it does some work, you guys. And actually this card should be in every token heavy build. So by the time of recording this video, Kaldheim is a new set and right now the spoilers are coming in. So I wanted to give you guys a quick overview on what cards could be included. I would include Rally the Ranks for another buff and Realm Walker for top filtering and more fast plays. Also, Commander Legends brought us 2 golems. Maelstrom Colossus lets us cascade, and Pyrexian Triniform floods the board with tokens. It's pretty mana hungry, but again, by the reduction effects of Hamza and even cards like Herald Zone if you want to include them, combined with the ramp of green, this couldn't be too hard. Then if you were thinking about putting some more money in the deck and skip the budget brew, I have some recommendations for you, so let's look at them. Well, this is an obvious one, Doubling Steven. Whenever you're in a token strategy combined with a counter strategy, this card obviously should be in there. It interacts with both our commander's abilities, so yeah, pretty good card. And if you want to upgrade this, I mean include this. Other upgrades are Hardened Scales for doubling the +1/+1 counter synergy. Platinum Imperium, probably one of the best golems there is there in EDH. And Metallic Miming to another to get this lore effect again. This is probably one of the most unique decks I ever built, and I can promise you now that when your opponents ask what you play and you say Golem Tribal, they will look strange at you. But man, this deck packs a punch. It's a blast to play. You just keep on developing your board, making bigger and bigger golems, cashing golems in for mana or cards to make other golems stronger, eventually swing with a bunch of unblockable tokens to seize the win. It's an awesome deck, very fun and very unique. So guys, I hope you liked this video. If it doesn't mean much, go subscribe on my channel, watch my other videos. I do a bunch of deck techs. You can even sponsor my Patreon. Psych don't have a Patreon. But please subscribe, look at my other vids, and peace guys. And Golems rule. Yeah. Golem. Golem.